So I've been playing Necesse non-stop for the past couple of days, not because I forced myself to, but because the game is just that good. For someone who loves Terraria, this game feels like home away from home, and at times feels a lot better, but also misses a certain itch that I'm not sure if it will ever find. In my last Necesse video, I talked about my first impressions 1 hour into the game, but now that I have over 13 hours put into the game, I feel like I can honestly talk about it from a more open view. I obviously won't talk about the endgame content as I haven't gotten to that part of the game yet, but I will make an update once I've completed the game. I will be showing gameplay from the first 3 bosses in the game, so if you don't want to get spoiled, then you might not want to watch this video, but if you watch the trailers for Necesse, then you've already been spoiled like at least 50% of the game, so yeah, it's not that deep. But without further ado, let's begin the video. Necesse is a top-down sandbox action-adventure game developed by Fair Games APS, led by Danish developer Mads Skovgaard, also known as Fair. Hopefully I didn't butcher his name too bad. Originally conceived as a solo hobby project back in 2012, Skovgaard gradually built the game, teaching himself programming, art, sound, and design before transitioning into full-time development around 2019. After years of early access development, community feedback, and many incremental updates, Necesse reached its major version 1.0 milestone in 2025, now offering a procedurally generated, expansive world and polished systems. In terms of genre, the game blends familiar elements, exploration and crafting from survival sandbox space like Terraria, base and settlement management reminiscent of colony sims, and action/RPG style combat. This hybrid formula gives the game both depth and accessibility for a wide variety of players. At its core, Necesse blends exploration, survival, and RPG progression into a surprisingly addictive loop. You start small, just you, a few tools, and one villager named the Elder. But as you explore further, new biomes, dungeons, and bosses slowly unfold, giving you that classic just one more mission feeling, and then you end up playing for hours without knowing. The combat is fast, fun, and sometimes brutal. You've got melee weapons, ranged options, magic staffs, summoner weapons, and so much more, each feeling satisfying in their own way. There are technically classes in the game like melee, ranger, mage, and summoner, but the game doesn't force you into one. Simply, whatever you make or find in the wild, you can use. Boss fights are the real highlight. They're not just tanky enemies, but multi-phase battles that test your dodging, timing, and awareness. It can go from calm exploration to absolute chaos in seconds if you don't read the items given to you, just like what I did. I think it's like a pet, but oh, did I just spawn a boss? Oh my god. Yeah, I don't think that was a pet. Progression feels smooth and rewarding. Defeating bosses and exploring deeper dungeons unlocks new crafting materials, stronger gear, and more ways to grow your settlement. It's got that perfect mix of freedom and structure. You can do whatever you want, but there's always something worth chasing, and you can take as long as you want. The game doesn't force you to do this now or you'll miss something. Everything sort of finds its way back to you if you just play at your own pace. And if you bring your friends along, things get even better. Necesse supports co-op, scaling enemy difficulty with more players, turning the chaos up to 11. Fighting huge bosses alongside your friends or villagers never stops being fun. In short, Necesse nails what makes the sandbox adventure game so engaging. Simple mechanics that open into endless possibilities. And also, for anyone wondering out there is controller support for Necesse. I use a PS4 and GameSir controller and it works fine, though I do think playing it on mouse and keyboard is a much better experience. I've never been fond of controllers for games like these anyways, so it might just be a me problem. One of Necesse's standout features, and something that really separates it from other sandbox adventures, is its villager and settlement system. As you progress through the game, you'll start to bring NPCs back to your settlement for a small price, of course. These aren't just decorative characters either, they each serve a purpose and make your settlement feel alive. You've got traders who sell gear and supplies, guards who protect your base from raids or monster invasions, farmers who grow crops for your food and potion needs, and so much more. Each villager has their own function, and as your population grows, you start to feel like the leader of the group. What's great is how naturally this system ties into the core gameplay loop. You go out exploring dangerous dungeons, gather resources, and come back to improve your village. Then those improvements make your next adventure easier. It creates a satisfying feedback loop where exploration and settlement building feed into each other. Though you don't have to do this, you can just completely focus on one thing. There's also a surprising amount of customization. You can design where villagers live and assign them to specific houses. When an invasion happens and your guards rush out to fight alongside you, it gives the world a sense of teamwork and personality you don't often see in games like this. The game can be played in multiplayer and solo, but playing a solo world doesn't feel that lonely as you have your villagers to work with, which I think is one of Necesse's biggest strong point. The way it incorporates NPCs to make you feel like you're in a living world with people. It's not as deep as something like RimWorld, but it strikes a perfect balance. Watching your settlement grow from a lonely campfire into a bustling village feels genuinely rewarding, and it adds a ton of replay value to the overall experience. I will say, however, that getting used to the villager system and automating stuff in your village is a tad bit confusing. I found myself looking for guides outside the game, which is normal for games to be fair, but I think that the game could be a lot better if they had a guide explain to you how automation works, if you wanted them to. As villager and farm automation is a big part of the game, I was a bit let down by this, but I'm sure once you get used to it, it becomes second nature. Necesse embraces a charming pixel art aesthetic that immediately gives it a warm, nostalgic feel. The environments are surprisingly varied. You'll start off in the usual grassy biomes, but as you explore further, you'll come across snow-covered lands, eerie underground caverns, and mysterious dungeons filled with, well, you'll have to find that out for yourself. Each area feels handcrafted in a way that encourages exploration. You always want to see what's just beyond the next pixel. The animations are smooth, especially during combat where the flow of attacks, dodges, and spell effects feel snappy and satisfying, but also slow and sluggish for a reason. A slow moving spell, for example. If you've played Stardew Valley or Terraria, you'll instantly recognize the inspiration here, but Necesse manages to stand out with his slightly chunkier design. It's a great reminder that pixel art doesn't need to be complex to be beautiful, it just needs personality, and Necesse has plenty of it. If I was being critical, I'd say that the biomes need a tad bit more work to make them feel like a whole new area. It's alright at the moment, but it needs to feel like a whole new world, as I feel like it would be a bit stale. For example, stepping into the swamp biome could be scarier with the new monsters or something like that, or maybe in the snow biome they could have a beast lurking somewhere in the snow waiting to ambush you. The sound design in Necesse does a great job of matching the game's cozy yet adventurous vibe. Every swing of your sword, thud of a pickaxe, and crack of a spell feels crisp and satisfying. The ambient noises like the wind or the crackle of campfires add a nice layer of immersion without being overwhelming. The soundtrack itself is chill but surprisingly dynamic. Peaceful melodies play while you explore or manage your settlement, and the music ramps up with more energy during boss fights or intense exploration moments. It's not the kind of soundtrack that demands attention, but it's one that subtly enhances everything you do. Overall, Necesse's audio work fits perfectly with its pixel world, simple, charming, and atmospheric in all the right ways. One of Necesse's biggest strengths is how replayable it is. Every world is procedurally generated, meaning no two adventures ever feel the same. You'll always discover new biomes, dungeons, and layouts each time you start over. On top of that, there's a lot of freedom in how you play. You can focus on exploration, build a thriving settlement, go all in boss fights, or recruit companions and form your own adventure party. The different difficulty options and the ability to play solo or with friends in multiplayer also add tons of replay value. It's only been a week since its 1.0 release, and the devs have already issued a small patch for bug fixes. Honestly, Necesse feels like a game you can keep coming back to, even after dozens of hours. Whether you're chasing stronger gear, experimenting with builds, or just protecting your village setup, there's always something to do, and it never really feels repetitive unless you want it to. At the current time of recording this video, there's also a 50% discount on the game on Steam, so this is the perfect time to buy it. At the end of the day, Necesse is one of those games that quietly sneaks up on you. You download it thinking it's just another Terraria-like clone, and before you know it, you've sunk hours into mining, building, and expanding your little settlement. It's cozy, it's chaotic, and it's surprisingly deep for an indie title. Necesse delivers a rewarding experience that balances creativity, challenge, and discovery pretty greatly. So for my final verdict, Necesse 1.0 1.0 is a hidden gem that deserves way more attention than it's getting. A solid 8.5 out of 10 for me, an indie game done right. And that wraps up my review of Necesse 1.0. Honestly, this game was such a pleasant surprise and I'm really excited to see where it goes from here. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like, it really helps the channel out. And if you want more reviews, hidden gems, and all things gaming, then consider subscribing and joining the guild. Thanks so much for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next quest.